What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams. Tonight, I am joined by my two usual beautiful co-hosts. We've got Mr. Kyle Henning on the top right of the screen. How you doing tonight, Kyle?
Doing all right. Ready to talk about whatever's going on in the world of the Chiefs.
There's a lot to talk about. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Also joining us, Mr. Thomas Pike, Arrowhead Tom. How you doing tonight, Tom?
You know, I'm so ready for football. I'm ready for fall. Ready for this heat to be gone, far, far away, back to the depths of hell where it belongs.
Yeah.
And I am ready for the revenge tour that I think we're going to see. So, and I'm ready to see some of these young guys. So we'll talk about that. But yeah. I'm ready. That's the best way to describe it. Ready.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good little podcast that we got for you guys today. We've got a couple key topics to talk about. Obviously, preseason game 1 is in the books for the Chiefs. We're going to hit a lot of points about the preseason, the first preseason game of the year, talk about a couple guys who impressed. There's also been some news in the NFL front that we will get to relating to the Chiefs. And most importantly, though, what we're going to lead off this wonderful episode about is one of the biggest podcasts maybe of all time, breaking YouTube literally, breaking the internet. Taylor Swift coming on the New Heights podcast with Jason and Travis Kelce. That was it dropped. The teaser dropped a couple days ago, and that was already like, whoa, my gosh! Like this is a real thing. We're actually seeing Taylor Swift on New Heights. Like that's just stuff of dreams, you know.
Well, and she had to ask to come on the show. Because Travis, yet again, not asking people things.
Yeah. That's classic Travis. So not only for her to come on the show, but to come on for 2 hours, a whole 2-hour conversation, uploaded ready to YouTube. First impressions.
Her podcast debut.
Yeah, first impressions is absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal podcast debut, I'll tell you what. And probably one of the only times, that she would, like. You're not seeing many other instances that she's going to be in that comfortable of a setting, which is obviously a lot of Swifties hinted at, is the fact that this is.
I think it's important to note, like, just for our audience, like, because I know, people were like, well, she could be on New Heights or she could be on the Kingdom Says podcast, right? And I just want to pull back the curtain a little bit. We did ask. In fact, I've sent her multiple letters. She did finally send me a letter back.
You sure that wasn't Tree that sent that back to us?
300 feet and cease and desist and something else. But I'm hopeful. I honestly, it looked like it got mixed up in my junk mail. I think it was like one of her interns or something that sent it. So we'll keep asking. But yeah, we tried. Maybe we'll be her second.
I don't think she answered our DM, which she doesn't do unless she has Jason go through them all. Then we might have a chance, but until that happens,
we tried though. I want our listeners to know that we did try. We continue to try to do our best.
Close second. We're close second to New Heights. I can see why, but I think we were in the room.
I think we were at least New Heights was going to be number one, but we had to be just as close as anybody else in terms of number 2. I feel like our shot was
agree with that.
That's the first thing you've said that I can fully agree with.
We
were probably as close as anybody else because the chances for everybody else are less than 0.
Slim to none. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I could cosplay as Jason Kelce, and we might be able to pull.
I mean,
yeah.
You got to put a little more juice for men in your beard, though.
Yeah,
some hair on the top of it.
We could work on it, but we're similarly built, and I could trim the beard out, get a little, just for men in here.
Yeah, kind of really narrow it down.
We could do it. We could pull it off.
She'll never even know. Never even know.
Taylor, I can't even do a Jason impression.
You gotta be yelling. I think that's part of the thing. You gotta be yelling to get a good Jason Kelce impression. So. Yeah. Phenomenal episode. I thought. Man, what a great insight into their life like that you'll never ever be able to see anywhere else, And
I love the little shit talking from Taylor, the intro. Yeah, one thing that male sports fans love. It's more of me. I don't know. Their dynamic was just as precious as you would think it would be. And listen, I know there's some people, whatever, right? You know what? life is hard. The world is hard. Let's just be happy. Let's just let something be good. Just let it be good for once. You know, um, I'm sure they're, they their crap smells just like the rest of us. But come on, we
I
don't need
don't know
to.
about that.
I think it's overrated to be
Yeah.
cynical and angry and just.
I don't know how you
Like,
can watch that podcast and be cynical
yeah,
or still dislike Taylor in any way. I mean,
come on, wipe the dust off your wife beater and just have a different opinion for 5 minutes.
Well,
Other than Taylor Swift is dumb. Sorry, they're good.
I
They're
guess
good people trying to do their best.
you could tell the authenticity between the two of them almost immediately.
mm-hmm.
And for a couple that basically can't go anywhere without being photographed and videotaped and followed and stalked and theories, the way that they talk about everything and the way that the basically the description of we just get to be normal people when we're with each other and we're not, and we see these wild ass harebrained nonsense that everybody's putting on, and we see it, and like some of the stuff that we see is so absurd all we can do is just sit there and laugh. But she made a quote, she said she had a quote in that episode that I think a lot of people could learn something from when it comes to our daily lives on the internet, or just in general, I guess, in person too, but especially for people's opinions on the internet. The energy protection line about they haven't earned your energy, so don't give it to them. If you let somebody saying, oh, your shirt's weird or your podcast isn't good, like, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, your energy is valuable. They can't afford it,
Correct. That's the quote, and it's something that when you spend as much time, because for those of you who don't know what it entails to do this, if you're not somebody that has a team that operates, your social media and stuff for you, you have no choice but to spend quite a bit of time online.
Yeah.
So being able to see that and go, yeah, you don't have to get upset or worry about what Joe 877-436-25781 it says on, like, who cares? Like, what? Thank you, name bunch of numbers. Go crawl back in your dungeon. But just the pure authenticity of them, and you can tell Travis is not exactly somebody capable of hiding his emotions.
Yeah.
Kind of always been a wear him on his sleeve kind of guy. If you've followed this team at all for any period of time, you've pretty much known that. I mean, this is the guy that was aggressively yanking his meat at referees and throwing flags at them, like,
which is so funny. Yeah.
10 years ago.
The GIF, yeah.
So, like, you can tell just by the way he looks at her, or the way he talks about her, to her. Mm-hmm. He's full authentic. It's real for him, and it's very clearly, by everything you've seen for her, very real from her. Mm-hmm. It's good to see. 1.3 million people wanted to watch that thing live at the same time. So much so that YouTube cut off the last 20 minutes of video because it broke.
Yeah,
and they had to
they had like 20 engineers on YouTube trying to fix that thing.
Well, when you have the only podcast appearance Taylor's ever made and your platform accidentally short circuits and cuts off 20 minutes of it, you better have a team full of people trying to fix it.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, but for them to, just the whole thing, for her to ask him to go on the show because she's a fan of the show, per her.
Yeah, she knew all the segments and all the stuff. Did the new news.
But all of that, and of course him not ever asking her to do it, or the same way he wouldn't ask Andy, and the same way it's to watch them and to listen to the stories and listen to her go from, I thought Josh Allen and Jared Goff, which, by the way, the fact that she yanked those two names out of a hat was something in specific, but thought they were on the field at the same time, like going against each other too. She's talking about cover 6, cover 2.
Yeah, started listing coverages.
And I'll tell you what, some of those people that whine and complain about their football, her invading their football, can't tell you what cover 6 is. Have no clue what cover 4 looks like.
Yeah.
And you know how we know? I see some of your guys' takes online. That's how we know you don't know what that stuff is, because we see it.
I mean, sitting there in the same house studying with Travis all the time, I'm sure she's pretty
gotta be helpful
at this point. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, that's definitely. There's so many great quotes and just little things that like we kind of got revealed about their relationship. One of the great things that you kind of touched on, alluded to earlier, but like she mentioned something where it's like he's rubbed off on her in a way where it's like all the hate and the crazy internet stuff, like it doesn't even bother her. One line she says, she's something like, yeah, I can see an article and have my name in the headline, and it's still none of my business. I thought that was great. Like, just absolutely, taking the Travis mentality of not caring about the noise. It's a very common like football terminology and sports terminology, but it's like it's real. Like it's
neither one of them are really online, which I think is good for them.
Exactly.
But the also the openness with which they talked about all kinds of things, from her masters, getting her masters back, which if you're not familiar with the music industry and how big of an important of a deal that is in and of itself, and the way that Travis reacted to her when that happened, the way that she handles all of her business and treats it in the way that she does. Like, if you have problems with her, most likely they're a you problem, not a her problem, is what I got by the end of that episode.
Yeah, watching that episode, she is one of the coolest girls ever. Like, she is sick. She's really
Taylor
cool.
Swift with my mom.
Yeah.
He talked about that too in the GQ article, which if you guys haven't seen, Travis did a sweet photo shoot for GQ where I think he stole Carson's alligator.
Jay.
No, again, like what Kyle just said, if you, and it is unfortunate, and whether it's Travis or Taylor, anybody in the public eye, but Taylor Swift is a star, but it's not. And listen, these people have more money than I could even count. So my level of like whatever, but they're still human at the end of the day, and things where I know we see a fragment of the things that they see. Right, whether it's being tagged in things or, people making threats against them or, idolizing them in weird ways. There's a lot of things.
All those things.
We don't necessarily see that, and I know for a fact that there's been over the years. There's been times where, Taylor's dealt with some, not necessarily directly, but some people who are very have unhealthy individuals who have unhealthy fixations, whatever. And people who will just say all kinds of things. The public decorum is not awesome right now, and the same thing with athletes. I mean, plenty of people. Travis is pretty beloved in Kansas City, but I know even in his younger years when he was doing some boneheaded stuff, I mean, Twitter, man, people are vicious, and we will tweet quickly and not think. A couple years ago, there's that year with Alex Smith where I think Travis had like 3 or 4 games. It was a weird time where he had like 3 or 4 games where he fumbled like in a row, like just at crucial times, and they were in a down streak. And I remember Twitter just tearing, bench him, he's trash, and they're so reactionary, and so being able to turn that off. And I mean, how many times have we seen people get in arguments on Twitter? Then it's like athletes, you don't have anything to gain. So yeah, you've got an issue with Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce. That's probably a you issue. They appear to be genuine people. One of my favorite things in this whole thing was when the Swifties kind of went back through Travis's like timeline, trying to find oh gosh, who is this guy, and can we cancel him or whatever? Is there anything? And it's like just stupid tweets about like
feeding squirrels and stuff.
Yeah, feeding squirrels, like it's just the most wholesome stuff.
The squirrel.
Yeah, I will say this. Sometimes we have a tendency in our world. Not sometimes. More often than not, we make the wrong people famous, like the worst people.
Definitely.
Sometimes we put them in,
especially this era
positions.
Yeah.
when it comes to the Kelsey family and Taylor Swift, I feel a lot better about them being famous than about 97.4% of the rest of people who are famous in this country.
I would agree with that sentiment. Yeah.
And the other thing I think for me was, I mean, if you've listened to her catalog, she's not exactly shy or quiet about some of the things she's dealt with in relationships with others.
She's pretty much put it all out there. I mean, she's put it all out there.
It was funny because she kind of acknowledged, like, yeah, I've been talking about wanting somebody to do, what Travis did for me for years, and nobody's ever done it, and then he did it, and then now we're here. So, but like, there's a healthiness to that relationship that was very, you don't see it traditionally in celebrity relationships. That's not usually how that looks. They'll do the PR and the cameras and the interviews, but that was him, her, and his brother with a couple of the interns just talking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And very real, very open, talking and about everything. All kinds of, like I said, everything from the Masters to her parents' health to him and
Eras tour, and
but they also she does. I think the other thing that was glaring was she won't let him play the "I'm stupid" routine.
Yeah.
And he won't let her play the "I don't do anything physical" routine, whether she wants to label it as an athlete or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to show that they can do that and joke with each other or whatever, but also like, no, you're not gonna act like you're an idiot, because you're not, and you're not gonna act like you're not athletic or do anything physically demanding, because you do, like, that kind of stuff. Again, like, you don't, Hollywood relationships, celebrity relationships, majority of them are very superficial things, and that does not appear to be the case. And just to listen to her and the way that she views and tries to address, her fan base and why that she does the things that she does with certain things, whether it's the Easter eggs or the albums or the way that she built and wanted the Eras tour to be, it's for other people. And then you see, the stories where she goes to the children's hospitals when she's in town, or it's like, there's all kinds of celebrities and famous people that suck. And you guys want to hate the person who seems to be about as normal of a human as possible just because she's super stupid famous? I guess, do you, but like I said, that's a you problem, not a them
miserable
problem.
life to live.
So I'm happy for him as much as anything, and also Jason needs as much kudos and credit as
Jason killed it
anyone ever. That's gotta be about as nerve-wracking and difficult of an ask. Hey, we're gonna have you host two of the most famous individuals on the planet right now, and have you basically let you be the one that has the open door conversation for the rest of the planet to see with these two people in a setting where they've never seen her ever do this.
Right.
She's never done a podcast before ever.
Jason
damn sure not a 2-hour one.
Jason killed it in his role, I'd say. It's whole thing was just, we cannot recommend it enough. We could sit here probably for the next hour and a half just talking about all the great moments.
So much stuff in there.
Podcast.
So much.
It's a whole 2-hour podcast, and literally every single word spoken by everyone seemed to just be like this is amazing. This is crazy stuff. Like so much crazy stuff.
On that note, before so after you finish this podcast, and of course after Garrett get the overlay ready, watch this transition, watch this not planned. After you finish this podcast, and while you're going to look for that New Heights podcast, I'm going to give you a gentle reminder to go check out our friends over at Underdog Sports. Underdog. Hey, listen, I shared a little bit about this. We got to partner with them the middle of last year. You'll see the code over here on that side, right? If you're watching, you can see where my finger is kind of pointing. The code is KingdomSays, KingdomSays, all one word. Throw that in there. Get a good promo. Get a good start for the season. Get some free money to play with. hey, I was new to all of this fantasy stuff last year. When they approached us, I was like, that's really cool. I have no idea. Let me check it out. I will tell you, I had more fun with the season as a whole at the end of the year, playing with Underdog, just kind of seeing what they do, especially with that bonus money, that bonus deposit.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice. Take some of that pressure off. So make sure you're ready for week 1. Make sure you're ready for the season. I know we're in preseason. We want to get it in there now. So, in order, finish this podcast, sign up for Underdog using Kingdom Says promo code, and then, of course, check out the New Heights podcast. Maybe listen to that while you're thinking about what your strategy for the upcoming football season on Underdog is going to be.
And then when you're done with all those, flip over to ESPN and watch the first episode of The Kingdom that's I think, just finished a few minutes ago.
Yeah, just all that just dropped. So I'm sure we'll talk about that as we get a chance to get into that.
That'll probably be after the preseason game tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a lot of content that's going to come from that, which would be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see. Other news that came out in the NFL world today, the NFL kind of made an announcement of Rashee Rice's suspension, or lack of suspension, you could even say. This is kind of an interesting one. We don't really know how to feel about this. Here, let me read the thing. Have a disciplinary hearing with the NFL on Tuesday, September 30th, which, if they're following along, that's about 4 weeks into the season, after week 4. So, per some early reports, it seems like that is going to be the time when the NFL and their attorney, whoever the heck, Sue L. Robinson, or whatever her name is.
So Sue is the third party decided upon between the NFLPA and the NFL on the disciplinary committee.
Yes.
Let me do this for a second. Most of the time, suspensions are just handed out, agreed upon between the two sides. Carry on, my wayward son. Figure out your get back, and we'll move on from this. There appears to be some discrepancy or dispute between the NFL, the NFLPA, and Rashee's team. That's about the only way that this goes to in front of her. The only other time a suspension has gone in front of her, Deshaun Watson. And these two things aren't even in the same stratosphere when it comes to severity of crime committed. So I know there's been a lot of, as we mentioned, online discourse about this. Of course, all of the mouth-breathing special people that love to just pretend that the NFL is trying to rig things for the Chiefs want to act like this is some unprecedented thing. But it's quite literally in the CBA. It's there for cases where the NFL wants to give a certain amount of games. The PA is like, wait a minute, that's not even close to the same level of what that is. How are we here? And there's a dispute about it. Now, it's scheduled for the 30th. From what I was reading, it's scheduled for that because that was like the first day on her calendar that was available. I don't know what else the woman does, but apparently her calendar is full.
Come on. I mean, I know she's like I think like an actual judge or something, but I feel like
she was a judge at one point. I don't know if she still is a judge.
Move the schedule around, and maybe you work for us, so work on our time.
It could also very easily be settled before then, if the two sides can get together and agree, and it may never go in front of her.
Right.
But I think a lot of this has to do with if we're going down this pathway, I would assume the league is like 8 or 10, and Rashee's team is like, you just gave Jordan Addison for his second or third offense 3 games.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's not gonna, like, you're trying to give him the same number of games that you gave Justin Tucker and Deshaun Watson for graping folks, and I'm gonna use that word because YouTube doesn't like the other word without the G. But like, those aren't the same thing. That's not how that works. So yes, what Rashee did is bad. Yes, he should be suspended. Yes, there will be all of those things. But when you see something like this, it's likely because there's a large gap between what the player and the Players Association thinks is an acceptable suspension length and what the league is trying to push for. So before, and I've already seen all of the replies to the Shefty tweet, but also, Captain, I'm going to stop covering this team if covering the NFL, Tyreek plays another down, is out here trying to get his clicks in too and making shit up and being typical stupid-ass Florio. I can't stand that trash can of a human. But it's the whole bit that it is every time. Meanwhile, speaking of the Browns, Quinshaw Jenkins, case dismissed, so I'm sure he's going to be signed by the Browns and at practice tomorrow. And they went out and signed Isaiah Bond, who, if you don't know who that is, Google former Texas wide receiver who also had a nasty case that just got no charged in the state of Texas, who's now been signed by the Browns. But you know what? You won't hear about those things? The same reactions, because it's not the Chiefs, it's the Cleveland Browns. Bad things.
The Cleveland Browns, yeah.
They're going to get suspended, but you're not going to hear the outrage about them not being labeled suspended already by any stretch of the imagination the same way you will the Rashee thing. So this is part of being the team with, you know, the guy on the Chiefs and the team with the ESPN documentaries and the team with everything else that it comes with, being the big market draw, being the hated, being the bad boys. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. So
big bad wolves that rob banks.
Everybody relax. Rashee's probably getting 4 by the time this is all done, at least.
I have a different take.
Tom has a different take. Let's hear it, Tom.
Unless they pull a magic out of the hat and get less. He's getting at least 4 is what I meant. I didn't say it was just going to be 4, but at least 4. So just everybody relax before we do the whole panic mode.
I think there's a world where he gets 2. I think that we're talking about, okay, if they're pushing back because they think that it's too high with the suspension for like 10 games, 8 games, whatever, right? That's what we're kind of assuming. But I wonder if they came in at 6, right? That's what I would kind of anticipate. However, I think they can make an argument comparatively, and I think that it makes sense that they would when you think about Rashee's situation. His second-round draft pick, his rookie year was really good. Missed his sophomore year. If he misses a chunk of his third year, he has only his contract year left. And so missing 6 games this year, doing things like not hitting 1,000 yards, whatever, is going to be very impactful for him when it comes time for contract negotiations. So he wants to be on the field, not just for the sake of the competition, but when you talk about the business part, that's what his agents are there. That's why they're advising him. I think that they probably have a solid argument to go in and say, look, here's what some other worse offenders have gotten. Here's what other people have gotten. Rashee has cooperated the entire time. He has settled, made right with the victims. He is serving his time. All of these things, right? He's kept his nose clean since. I know we have the one little issue with the photographer, but I don't think that was legitimate, and it didn't seem to have gone anywhere. And there's also been the benefit of enough time has passed that eyes aren't on this as much. Now, I think 4 is what makes sense, but the NFL discipline stuff rarely makes sense. I think they probably came in at 6, maybe 8, and I think Rashee's team is probably going to settle for 2. They're going to argue that he shouldn't be suspended at all, right? And they'll probably negotiate into that 2, maybe 4 range. Maybe they split it and go to 3. I think it could be. Maybe I'm being hopefully optimistic there. I also think that if they didn't think that there was a chance for them to make that argument and for that suspension to be shorter, they would have just accepted whatever the NFL was offering to get it out of the way, because it is better from the player perspective and the team perspective to be doing really well later in the year, right? Those playoff runs and all that stuff being available for them for that than it is to be, those first 4 weeks. So,
but Tom, I think Warren Sharp said that's the hardest part of the schedule.
They're not worried about the hardest part of the schedule.
Correct.
That's, at the end of the day, this team they played all last year without him. They're going to be very glad to have him back, but they played all last year without him. This is Rashee's. This is, this is not a team thing. This is the Rashee and his agents, and they're basing this on what's going to be the best move for his career. And when you look at it through that frame, you have to understand that they have to have some level of confidence that they're going to be able to, let's say they go in and they lose this appeal process, and if they go in after week 4 and he gets 8 weeks, that's most of the season. 6 weeks,
Yep.
that's a good chunk of the season, right? So from the standpoint of productivity and trying to make arguments for contracts and that type of thing, it's also his first suspension, first offense. So starting there is a pretty big thing. I understand it made a lot of headlines, but that also is part of that is just being on the Chiefs, and people want to.
That's the biggest thing.
Because he's a good player.
He's a good player. He's a good player, and so it would. Yeah, I think it's good to be optimistic about it. It is just I think many people would prefer to get that out of the way sooner rather than later, especially at the chance if you go to that the meeting at September 30th after week 4. There's not a guarantee if you happen to lose it that they're going to give it to you right away. So you might push it back even further. It might take 3-4 weeks from them to decide.
No,
right.
I think it would have to be. I think by the way that the bylaws are written for the CBA, once she hears it and what her decision is, it's immediately enacted from that point. I don't think there's a delay ability.
Yeah, because if they happen to, knowing the NFL, they're just going to keep dragging it out. So the quicker we can get this all settled is the better. But
it would help the team more if it was the beginning of the year, because then they can deal with the 53-man roster in a different method.
This does blow up a lot of 53-man predictions, because a lot of people had 7 wide receivers making the roster, with Rashee being suspended, so it goes down to 6. So now you're all of a sudden kind of that's we're going to get into that. But as it stands right now, hearing scheduled for September 30th, and as we stand, Rashee Rice is going to be eligible to play at least those first 4 games without a suspension until news changes otherwise. But that's very that was pretty significant news on that front. And to segue into the roster talk, there's some guys on that wide receiver room particularly who made a really good case this past weekend, this first preseason game, that they deserve to be that 6th, 7th wide receiver on the roster, despite the suspension or not. So let's dive into it. Let's dive into the Cardinals, the Chiefs-Cardinals preseason game 1. Obviously, as we all expected, Pat got 1 drive. He actually really only got 1 throw, 2 throws if you're being real. But opening kickoff, there's a forced fumble caused that gets some really good field position, and then a couple plays later, the Chiefs score, and then that's the starting offense. All right, see you guys. Yeah. The starting O-line stayed in for another series, I believe, but that was the...
Yeah, the 3 plays were attempted to throw the ball to Tyquan Thornton, and he got mugged.
Yeah.
Draw play in the red zone, which... who are you, and what have you done with Andy Reid?
Yeah.
And followed it up with a who are you and what have you done with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid for a back shoulder fade touchdown pass.
Exactly, a little 50-50 to
what happened?
Brownlee, which is a guy I subtly mentioned, I think, on one of the pods. I mentioned Jason Brownlee. So yeah, him and Tyquan Thornton, I think, are the 2 guys who, we didn't see a ton of Tyquan, but those are the 2 guys I think who made the biggest impression in the wide receiver room. If you're looking at that whole how that might shake out, I think a lot of people had Tyquan pretty stoutly in the making the team camp. Jason Brownlee, who knows? I think he'll be a solid practice squad guy that you might worry about losing if another team deems it. But either way, I think the wide receiver room, the bottom, will kind of even shake it out even more when this second preseason game comes around. Tom.
Nico better not slack off. That's all I have to say.
I think Nico's good. I think
I like Nico a lot.
Like a 49-yard
you
return,
better make sure,
like his second return.
The NFL is a quick business, my friend. You better make sure that spot is secured, because somebody will take it from
you. On your Yannies or laurels. Like you gotta still be active. But Nico also had an impressive.
Were you 9 when that happened?
No, older than that, I think, but not. Yeah,
not prepared for you to fire out the Yanni Laurel reference.
I was like 15 probably or something. I don't know. Yeah,
okay.
I was around. Come on, I was around.
So was the dress blue or gold?
It was blue. I mean, it was 100% blue. Yeah. If anyone said otherwise, it's crazy. Right, Kyle?
I didn't say nothing.
Kyle? That's crazy, Tom. You hear him? He said the dress is gold. Isn't that crazy? So other preseason reactions from you guys. Offensive line, obviously a big one. Josh Simmons and Kingsley Suamataia both out there getting a good amount of reps. I think Josh Simmons came out earlier than Kingsley did, but Tom, what was your
They
impression?
played almost the exact same number of snaps. I think they played the exact same number of snaps.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So here's how this went. I didn't watch the game live. I saw a lot of reactions on Twitter, and I could see there's a thing. And I'm not saying that the narrative is wrong. I am saying this is where I want to remind people that you're supposed to be a fan of this team and that we should be rooting for young players to be successful.
And not for your predictions?
Yeah. When it comes to Kingsley, he's playing a different position. He is a younger player. He's 22 years old. He did not go to a Power 5 program. He did not go to a powerhouse program. BYU is not slacking, but
were they in the Big 12 by the time he was there? I think they were not quite yet. Were they?
They shuffle around so much, but I don't know. My point is, I saw the clip on Twitter, and someone's like, Kingsley might not even win the starting. Okay, relax.
Yeah.
Realistically,
he had one bad rep.
Yeah, and
really, Garrett? My timeline said he was the worst player on the field.
The worst player in the world, and suddenly PFF is. I'm like, whoa. Just watch. And again, I think that it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's preseason, we want to have a narrative, whatever. He's 22 years old. I feel like if you want to watch one snap, and I think Seth Kaiser did a good job of writing about this in his Substack, and kind of says like, hey, it's a tough one, and watching that particular snap that everyone was looking for is a blitz pickup, and he just gets him, and sometimes you get got, and that's okay. I will also remind you that
over Creed's leg.
Yeah, I said he starts with helping, right? And when you're a left tackle, you don't typically help; you get helped. So again, this is maybe a positional nuance thing. I'm a little bit more forgiving of it because it has more to do with positioning and less to do with like functionality. It's a hey, it's something we don't want to see, but we can learn the nuance of it. He didn't give up. He didn't fall on his butt and lay there. The guy got into his pads real well, and he gets tripped up on Creed. That's going to happen when you're playing a new position and you're taking new angles and you're learning that stuff.
Yeah.
Was the world beater? No. It's also not entirely fair because he's coming in for a guy who's been a robot at left guard. Let's just be a little patient with him.
Just be patient.
Hey Tom, did you happen to watch the next snap after that?
The
very next snap.
I'm trying to remember. I watched Jeff Swartz's breakdown.
Well, for those that don't know, that very play, that blitz pickup that you're referring to, they ran a almost identical concept right at him the very next play. You know what he did with that one?
Probably got it and didn't trip over.
Correct. He was square and he ate it, and he didn't, and there was no issues, and there was no problem.
Ain't gonna get it twice. That's good.
It's the preseason, guys.
Yeah,
he's learning.
You're still learning stuff. You're practicing stuff. You're still picking up these different blitzes.
Those are his first 11 snaps at guard, other than week 18.
Yeah. So it's
by the way,
learning experience.
Week 18, he was out there pretty much by himself.
Didn't have the supporting
cast. There was not a lot of help around.
Yeah, not the best. Not the best. Practice is around those guys. So overall, Kingsley I think looked fine. Josh Simmons is one I want. He was I feel like that is one that obviously everyone kind of expected him to be lights out and really good off the rip, and I'd say
He's
he
so
was. I mean, he looked just watching him compared to watching every other left tackle we've had for like the past 5 years, probably. Like it's
He has all the. It's never been
It's
a
just
question
so
of whether or not
different.
the kid has the talent. He
Yeah,
has the tools in the bag.
it's just so great to see him. You know, it's just so great to see that guy wearing Chiefs red. You know, because every year, like you go in the draft and you see, you got the top tackle prospects, the guys that are just studs right away. They're going to be top 5, 10 picks, and we can never get excited about those guys. We always have to look at
because you
the
can't draft
okay.
that high when you're playing in
What's the
February.
next tier of tackle? What's the good but needs development tier? We've never gotten an opportunity, probably since Eric Fisher, honestly, that we've got an opportunity to just have a stud out the gates that is just
even Big Fish had some struggles going on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Still
He wasn't
different.
And he was still easily the best available draft pick in that draft class because that draft class was horrific.
bad. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a very long time since we've had this level of prospect on our offensive line and on the left tackle.
It's hard to draft those guys when you're playing in February. You have to have something fall your way, and people ran away from a patellar injury, and they were probably right to. It's a very large human to be having a very nasty knee injury. Not all those guys, not everybody is coming back from that. A, as fast, B, as complete, or C, as well as he has. Part of it has to do with his mentality, which is something they've focused on in these drafts now since the Creed trade draft. Since that draft, where Brett basically didn't miss a player, they've set themselves on, hey, this dude's a captain. This dude's a leader. This dude's in the gym at 5 a.m. He's in class. He's going study hall. It's all about the character of the individual and their work ethic and their want to play the game. Because you can find guys that don't have that real easy. You can go look through go throw a dart at a Raiders draft over the last 7 or 8 years, 10 years. They find them all over the place. They got guys like that all over the place. They're out of the league in 3 years because of it. Like we benefited. We benefited from him having a horrible injury and everybody panicking. And it worked.
And the other piece about that, like got closer to draft time, even after he fell, there were these murmurs about, well, what about seriousness and what about character? He just carries himself so well. And when I mentioned he's so smooth, but I'm watching him. Like, I think the biggest thing, at least, and again, we'll see it when we get into the regular season, especially with young players. So far, I haven't seen a moment from him where it felt like the moment was too big. Whether that's training camp, like he got the job and has not let it go. There's supposed to be a competition. I'm going to remind you that the Chiefs paid a pretty healthy amount of money to a guy who was supposed to be,
$10 million this year.
Yeah, who was a plan at left tackle, and Josh Sims for a rookie, for Andy Reid to trust a rookie. Whew.
You paid $10 million for a floor of Jalen Moore.
Yeah,
that's what you paid for.
Andy Reid and Andy Heck do not help their tackles. We've talked about this plenty of times.
At all.
So this is. But here's the thing: I was just watching. You guys, okay. Well, I pulled up the snaps, right? Jeff Schwartz has a breakdown on Instagram, and I pulled them up, and I was just watching, and the snap before the one that everybody's talking about with Kingsley, Josh is on an island with his guy and just hanging out. I mean, he just looks comfortable. He looks confident.
Yeah,
and that's
by the way, who was that guy? Who was that guy?
I can't see the jersey.
Baron Browning.
Baron Browning, yeah, number 6.
Yeah, pretty.
Baron Browning, who beat the Jesus out of that entire offensive line, not once but twice last year against the Broncos.
Yeah,
he was destroying that Week 18
was he on
game.
The Broncos last year?
Pretty sure. Near positive.
Let me double check for you. Yeah, he was. Okay, yeah, he was. You're right. I knew. I know him and Nick Benito were just both giving us.
Yeah, because they kept. I couldn't figure out which last name they were going to call next on those two broadcasts because they were just zooming around the tackles like they weren't there. And Josh Simmons was like, "Yeah, that's cute." No,
let me wrap you up real quick.
And not like, "Oh, I'm in the spot," and then you're gonna get it 2.5, like just over 3 seconds that you're getting around me. Like, no, I can sit here and hold you for 5.
You are not
6,
moving anymore.
7.
Here is your final.
You're not
here.
going anywhere. You might as well turn and run back to your side of the line of scrimmage because you're not going to mine. And to have that kind of, not only, first of all, he gets off the ball at a ridiculous rate, and that's with us having watched Jawan Taylor the last several years. Like,
that was another thing I noticed. Very nice normal stance out of him. I tell you what,
he's off the ball immediately, but he's not to where it looks like he's jumping early. It's not the Lane Johnson. It's not the Jawan Taylor. It's not some of the other guys that do that quick step, almost early step. It also doesn't look as herky-jerky, which I think probably helps him not look like he's starting too fast. Jawan Taylor's, his leg kicks real big, and he, like, jumps backwards. Josh is just kind of gliding across the top of the grass with his feet.
Smooth and compact, it seems like, just...
And then when he puts his hands on you, it's over, baby.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a little bit to stuff to kind of fine-tune with the punch, because I think he missed a couple of his punches on certain things with a couple of those snaps. But that's stuff that you work on, and most tackles don't get until year 2, year 3, year 4.
Yeah.
He's doing it now.
One of Jeff Schwartz's only real criticisms that he's more of a catcher at tackle, I believe.
You see him stick his hands out and kind of end up with the grab on the shoulders, and he kind of leaves his chest open a little.
Yeah, but also literally first NFL snaps ever. Like this is the first time he's lined up against.
And the other part is
you play at Ohio State, so you see some dogs, but this is the NFL. I can get being a little more cautious in your first preseason game, not necessarily going for more punches. I get it.
Sure. And if you also know that even if you give that dude your chest, he's not strong enough to do anything about it.
It doesn't matter.
Because I think that probably factors in a little bit to it. You may not see him treat Myles Garrett that way, because guess what? Myles Garrett's a little stronger than Baron Browning is.
Mm-hmm.
But Baron Browning is more of a speed guy most of the time. He's going to beat you over the top. Yeah. He's going to beat you cutting back inside on you. He's not going to beat you going through your chest. So if Josh knows that, and he's like, well, I can just kind of put my hands on his shoulders, and if he wants to try to push me, he can try, but it's not going to work. That's fine.
And you got to remember that these guys study the defensive ends too. It's not like they're just going in hitting the same pass at every rep. They're studying, they're realizing who they're lining up against, who they're facing, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what their best strategy is, what their best pass set would be, how to mix it up and throw different looks at them. It's just a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Hey, Kyle's back on video. It's a whole thing that you have to you spend a whole week of game plan, and I'm sure there wasn't a whole lot of maybe game planning for a preseason game for the Cardinals. You're still, in St. Joe doing a lot of work there. So it's not sure how much tape study you're really doing besides, hey, just do the things that you need to do right. And then, maybe
judging by the commentary about the kid, plenty of tape study because he's at the building all the time. Never leaves.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he probably just at night well, I have nothing else to do. Let's just watch Baron Browning film all night. Might as well.
But like I said, would I like to see him be a little more precise and decisive with the punch? Sure. We also know he can punch. You can ask Ashton Gillott.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that was probably
that one was quick and decisive. I'm pretty sure he when push comes to shove and he needs to use that, he can use it.
He's gonna be just fine, I think.
But I think a lot of the panic about Kingsley is driven by all of the stuff from last year, and I think most of anybody that's apprehensive about Josh is apprehensive about Josh because they kind of just gave Kingsley the job last year because they didn't have another choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's not been the case this year. We talked about they have another left tackle that has NFL experience that they know is a floor setter. and he took it from him and he never gave it back to him.
Yeah,
that's what you'd like to see.
which is impressive.
And he took it for him before Jalen probably ever even got there, to be honest.
Yeah,
because I feel like it was rookie minicamp and OTAs, and it was already basically decided.
Yeah, I mean, you see the amount
and
of
then they
progress
put
that
the
he's
pads
made
on, and it was like, yeah, nope, this is it.
When you see the amount of progress that he made, I mean, Andy Reid and everyone's come out and said like he's way beyond what we even thought we would have him. So yeah, he's gonna be starting. Yeah, I think he's gonna be good. So that was obviously probably the main thing to be excited for from this preseason. Couple other things. What was another quick thing? Tom, I'll let you lead
they
off.
had some guys out there.
I'm worried about the running back room.
Okay.
I think you have different flavors.
Didn't believe in Kareem Hunt's 10-yard run.
I think I love Kareem. I'm not throwing that. I think that Kareem has limitations with his age and his ability. I'm rooting for Pacheco so hard, but he has not shown growth in terms of like the vision. And so, again, it's one preseason game, but
yeah, I'm sure. I don't think he got many snaps either this game. Yeah.
And Carson Steele is still.
He's still bowling a little. He's kind of bowls his way in there sometimes.
Yeah, he is who he is.
Yeah. Honestly, I was kind of impressed as Tom lets out a big yawn. I was actually kind of impressed by Elijah Mitchell. That's guy who I was kind of down on this whole training camp, and he had a couple good looking runs there too. I mean, obviously, you had to take everything with a grain of salt because you're using a backup or even third string offensive line in some of these situations. That's what you kind of always have to evaluate when you're looking at running back, especially in the preseason. But I think Elijah Mitchell had some good reps. Rashad Smith, he was okay.
Smith, it wouldn't surprise me if Smith is a practice squad guy this year. We want to keep expectations. I
think the expectations for him have been skyrocketing, and it might be maybe.
Yeah,
we'll see how these next couple preseason games goes to them and how they use them. But yeah,
and it may be a minor thing to worry about in the grand scheme of things. But Andy does like to run the ball more than people give him credit for, and he is. I don't know. I feel like there is more there. But there was some meat left on the bone on a couple of those plays, and I'm watching to see like I think Kareem and Isaiah are obviously like 1A, 1B kind of situation. But it would be nice to feel a little bit better about that room. It's something I'm keeping my eye on. It also wouldn't surprise me if they look to add a body, like after once the cut downs go through, like that could be a position where I think like maybe Elijah Mitchell makes the initial 53 or whatever, or Rashad, like, and then they switch him out for somebody else who doesn't make another team. Because I just think that the competition in that room feels a little stagnant right now, and it feels like all those guys have very similar ceilings, and I think it's enough to be competitive and even to win a Super Bowl. I like my running backs, and I want a little bit more, right? And when you think about that postseason, that like Isaiah Pacheco had a little more to offer. So again, I think him being healthy and coming back to his previous form would be important, but he's also got to grow a little bit as a runner for the team's sake and for his sake because he wants to get paid. I'm sure.
Oh, he probably does, but it ain't going to be here no matter how well he runs.
Contract year too, right? Contract year.
I believe this year.
It was 2022 draft class, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, contract year.
Regardless,
Might be
and I don't even know that even if he did run for 1,500 yards, that he's getting paid in Kansas City. They just don't have the pocketbook for that position to have it paid at a certain level. So, you can't teach vision. You either have it or you don't, and you can get better at vision by learning and understanding more of what you're seeing and being able to process it faster. It takes lots and lots of tape study and lots of reps. I don't ever expect his vision to really drastically improve, but if he returns to as healthy as he was before he broke his ankle, you're fine. because you have enough with him, and you have enough behind him in Kareem that you're going to be okay. You're going to get as much as you need out of that running back room, especially with the wide receiver room looking to be deeper than it's been in a long time, and Patrick looking to be considerably more aggressive by all accounts towards the more downfield activities and so on. I'm not as terribly concerned about that. I think it's becoming more and more likely that Bashard ends up on the practice squad, because I don't think he's done enough in the return game to steal a spot, because he was going to have to steal a roster spot, and I don't think that's existent for him at this point. Elijah Mitchell's an interesting story. It gives you Jet McKinnon vibes, because it's injured 49er coming in, trying to make a change, be the third down, being that guy. But Jet was a special breed. First of all, an unbelievable athlete even after some of those injuries, but also just the kind of player he was is from a team perspective, the pass blocking pickups. That's another thing Brashard Smith can't really do right now, and it's not necessarily a surprise, because he's a very young, like, what is he, rookie, 7th round, undrafted, something like that.
7th rounder, yeah.
Pass blocking in college for running backs doesn't really exist the same way it does in the NFL.
Especially he was a converted wide receiver too. So that's definitely an area that's lacking.
So probably. It's going to be a lot more difficult for him. I think a year on the practice squad, or 12 weeks on the practice squad, if they need to break glass in case of emergency later in the year because somebody goes down, wouldn't hurt him. But I don't know that I have the same fear about the running back room. I think it's going to be interesting to see if it's more than three or 4 with a fullback. I don't know if they'll even go 4 with a fullback. I think it may just be 3.
I like Carson Field's odds. I think I like special teams.
I do, just because of who Andy is.
Yeah.
The problem that they're running into now is this receiver Rashee Rice suspension, and where that lays and lands and how that all falls, because there's still only 53 spots on this roster, and they've got a plethora of wide receivers, and he likes to keep a certain number of linemen traditionally. And when you do those, and then they've got 6 tight ends.
And tight end, tight end's another one.
They have 6 tight ends.
Robert Tonyan at this point is a lock for the roster, I think.
I would be dumbfounded if he's not on this roster.
So if you count him in, you probably are keeping 4 tight ends, because you're still keeping Jared Wiley, I bet, unless and then you're turning Brenning
into this year's IR stash.
Yeah, Brings
because he hasn't really practiced
when you have
much during camp.
7 wide receivers and 4 tight ends and 4 or 5 running backs.
There's 11.
10,
a lot of bodies.
8 offensive linemen. It starts to add up pretty quick. It starts to add up. Typically you do 25 on offense.
You're basically
asking.
You're asking if you want to sacrifice an offensive lineman depth for a running back. Is basically where that's headed with that layout.
And really, there's just only so many snaps of running, only so many touches you can give all the different running backs. It's
especially when your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly. It's not you're taking the ball out of Pat's hands if you run it. So that's it's always one of them things. So running back room and will be an area to watch how they use and what order they use them in the next 2 preseason games. So
my thing was, there were some guys that were playing late into this game that I didn't necessarily expect to necessarily see out there that late in the game.
Who are you referring to, Cal?
And that may not bode supremely well for their roster chances.
Who are you talking about?
The defensive side of the ball especially.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Herring and Josh Williams were running with the 4s, essentially.
Oh. You're talking Malik Herring. I was looking at FAU on that side as well. Also.
All 3 of them. Malik, FAU, and Josh Williams were all out there considerably deeper into that game than I think you'd probably like to have them out there.
Yeah, I feel like Malik at this point is he's had enough years to prove that he's more than just a backup kind of bottom roster guy. I feel like his time might be up, unfortunately.
And
FAU
Williams
though,
being out supremely
Josh Williams
late.
out there. Yeah, I've been the one who's been on the letting everybody know, like, hey, Josh Williams' roster spot is not very firm with the amount of guys that they have there, you know.
I'll say it like this. I don't know how you watch him and 13 play and go, 13's better. Because I don't see it.
Nazi,
But
I mean, I feel like
I'm not trying to hate on Nazi either.
Nazi,
It's
great
just
kid, but
when you watch them both, I know that they're different styles at the position, but man, Josh, he won't. You're not. He's gonna jam you. He's gonna be physical with you.
Yeah.
And those are things that traditionally Spags is about, but I guess it's the for where he's at on the field type thing sometimes. But like, don't ask him to play zone then, Spags.
Yeah.
Have him play man, because the other guy is struggling with both. He's not getting jams on the line of scrimmage. He's getting beat over the top. He's getting lost in zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at this point, I almost feel like it'd be maybe a surprise.
Yeah, he may be
Nazi
knocking the ball down in
Williams.
practice when he knows what the other team's play is running. But if I think one of them pretty much has to with the way this cornerback room is. But it's just very odd that the way it's being distributed and what's happening, that's one of the positions that I'm absolutely paying attention to tomorrow night, because this game's going to tell you a lot about where they're at with the back end of that cornerback room.
Yeah, where they rank. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think you're going to see Jalen Watson or Trent McDuffie at all. I just don't. I think with Jalen having the concussion stuff, and there's basically no reason to put Trent out there, you might see Christian Fulton a little bit just because he needs to get some reps in on this defense and get back into playing shape. As Dave Merritt said in the press conference, you can do cardio with your trainer, but doing it against this is a different animal. And we've heard that for years. Football shape is in game shape is different than workout shape, but you might see him a little bit. But those other corners, that group that's not Trent, Jalen, or Christian, you're going to see a lot of them, and it's going to be very telling about who's playing when as to where this team kind of sits with how they feel about those guys.
Mm-hmm. I have a soft spot for Josh Williams, and I'm always rooting for him. The room is getting more crowded. I think Noel Williams is a guy that this staff is going to be really high on, and he looked good. I think Josh Williams can play in this league. I don't know if there's going to be a spot when it comes down to those cuts. And I could be wrong. They might, it's going to be close. I think they really like Noel Williams, and it makes sense.
And Noel's not one of the ones I was mentioning because I basically have already written him on the roster in pen. So
I think they were pretty elated to get him, and there's a lot of people who get really deep in the draft community. They're like, "Oh shit, not again!" Like, Nazi, man, we've talked about Nazi a lot on this podcast as a whole. Good kid, works hard. Probably gonna have to try to cut his teeth on special teams and see how that goes. And it's just, man, even if this is it, or even if it's it for the Chiefs, like, he's had a good run. He's made some plays. He's had some starts. Like, he's been, for a 7th round pick out of Marshall, he's done a lot. But that's part of a championship roster and building it. You're going to have that turnover. The other thing, and I talked about I mentioned this before the show. I was watching the D line a lot. My two concerns with this team are the running backs and the D line outside of Chris Jones, and I was whelmed by the defensive line. I thought Gelati looked better than I had thought he would, and then
Gelati looked good. Yeah,
Norman Lott.
What are they doing? What are they doing, Tom? My boy Owen.
I don't know, but it also looked like he was a little gassed. And I get it; it's different speed, all that stuff. But
yeah, they put 20 pounds on it.
Yeah,
they may just. We'll see. We'll see how it.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar, it's if you go back and watch a lot of Omar Norman Lott snaps from this past game, and if you hear some of the quotes that came out before and after, essentially it seems like, as we stand right now, the plan is to make Omar Norman Lott, who was more of a lighter, pass rusher type defensive tackle in college, he played a lot of like nose tackle and one tech and stuff like that. And they reported that he had like 15, 20. They added him, they had him add on like 15, 20 pounds this offseason, play a little bit heavier than he's ever played before, and kind of try to be more of a gap filling, guy in that sense. And, kind of be of a Derek Nottie replacement, a Mike Pennell, younger Mike Pennell, replacement down the road, I suppose. I don't love it. I tell you what, I do not love it one bit. I think the one of the big redeeming qualities, that when we drafted Omar Norman-Lott, and you had some of the criticisms from his playing in college and the reps he got and all that stuff. But one of the big things is like he's a pass rusher. Like he gets pressures a lot. We finally have kind of another disruptive force next to Chris Jones to do some work on the inside. We've been giving him a lot of help on the edge, but it feels like this is a guy that you could finally, have some pass rush juice up the middle, and it doesn't seem that's quite the plan, at least early on in the cards.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but I'm not paid millions of dollars to decide these things. So
yeah, I mean, Joe Cullen has a lot more leeway in this department than any other position group coach, probably.
Yeah.
Definitely more than the other side of the balls line coach does.
Yeah.
Look, I won't pretend to know more about defensive line play than Joe Cullen does, because that's just an insult to everyone involved in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very odd to take a guy who has got a pass rush bag and try to turn him into a space-eating nose.
That's what the Cowboys try to do with Monty Smith. And
how did that go?
He might be a free agent now, only 2 years after.
I know they've got Jalot, and they've got Omenihu, and they've got, and I really need to hear the pronunciation of that kid's last name, because I don't know if it's Jalati or Jalot
it's Jalati. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Jalati. But I do like you just committing to the bit of Jalot. I like it, Jalot.
They've got it. It's almost a little surprising to hear one of the new promoted roster executives say, "Yeah, I mean, I think probably the deepest room on our team is the defensive line," and I think everybody in the room and those of us watching at home at that press conference went, "Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?"
Yeah.
Now, I know they like George, and obviously they just paid him, and they have Mike Dana, who's solid,
and they have Charles Omenihu coming back for a full season finally.
Fully healthy Charles Omenihu matters.
Also, another guy that's not gotten a lot of mention that they seem to like, and this might be part of the reason too, is why they're moving O&O over to that role, is Jerry Tillery has been a guy that they've been talking about a lot that hasn't gotten a lot of attention so far.
Jumped out on the screen during that first preseason game. They were saying his name a lot, and unlike offensive linemen, that's what you want in a defensive lineman, is to them to be calling his name frequently. Yeah. And he was creating problems for that Arizona offensive line, at least the second and third guys, which he should, because he's a veteran NFL caliber talent.
First or second round pick, one of those.
Yeah, wasn't that with the Raiders?
Yeah.
We don't put stock into where they draft guys. Was it the Chargers or the Raiders?
Chargers, then Raiders, now us.
Chargers, then Raiders?
Okay. I think he might have. There might have been another team.
Regardless.
Chargers, then Raiders. Yep, you're right. First round, 28th overall. So,
Okay, so there's a little more stock to be put into him being drafted in the first round, because he's not a Raider to start with the draft pick. But regardless, and he's an ND grad, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah,
ND. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm extraordinarily familiar with his college days. I thought that was accurate, and he was fine in college. If he demonstrates an ability to be usable on the inside, he can give you that backup to Pennell if you need it, but also the versatility to play on down next to Chris and let you do different things with Omenihu and with George and with Mike. So yes, maybe that's why they're testing this theory with Norman-Lott this year, because they feel like they've got more depth there that they can try to turn him into something else that they may want or need later. It's just an odd strategy because, like you mentioned with the Mozzie Smith thing, it doesn't always really go that great. And now you're asking him to change his inherent instincts because those are not what he was doing for years before this.
Yeah.
It's the same concept of taking Kingsley and making him a guard and expecting him to be
he's having
Joe
to learn a
Tooney
whole new
5 minutes
position,
in.
essentially.
Like, it's not going to happen that way.
Whole new techniques and mannerisms and just everything.
So it's just an interesting decision to have him put on 15, 20, 25 pounds by the time the year's over with the playing weight and stuff. I get the variety. But the more you look through this depth chart, it's getting a little tight for guys like Felix and guys like Malik Herring. Like, I didn't really see a ton out of Felix that made me go, gotta keep it.
Yeah,
Felix
if you're playing that late into the fourth,
off the snap every time, and it's so befuddling because he is strong as an ox, but he just cannot get off the ball.
And it's better than it used to be, because remember, I'm the guy that used to throw a fit about him looking like somebody put him on pause when the snap started there for a while.
Yeah. I've never seen it at like this way at the professional level. It's weird. It's weird because it's not just like, oh, once in a while. It's like consistently
bad.
Yeah, going into year 3, that's just, and playing that late into the preseason still, like I don't, they
as
have
Garrett
another
mentioned, championship roster. Turnover happens, and there comes a time where where you were drafted no longer matters.
Yeah, and I mean, they still have a couple years of cheap control on him, so that's one of the saving graces that he has going for him. But he's going to have to definitely show some stuff in these next 2 preseason games to get him out of that doghouse, I think, because he's
that D-line room is not empty, and they are going to have trouble keeping dead weight around. And I don't mean to be mean with the dead weight comment, but you can't have deficient players when there's other. If you have a player that is better, you can't simply keep the other one because you have cheap control on a team like this. That's one of the negative side effects of being on a championship roster is if you're not at least league average, you're in trouble because there's a lot of talent on this roster.
Yeah, that's what bad teams do. Bad teams keep guys for the whole time and play them over guys because they're higher draft pick or whatnot, and that's why the Chiefs aren't in that situation. So
should we talk linebacker?
Yeah, we will see how things go. We got 2 more preseason games. Unfortunately, training camp's over. Training camp wrapped at St. Joe, so all the guys will be getting to go home and enjoy their own beds for a little while and kind of rest up a little bit more. Obviously, they still have some practices and meetings back in Kansas City, but at least they'll be able to, rest a little bit.
Approaching the more regular season rhythm,
a little more regular scheduled programming. So,
how about cut down? It's football, real football, meaningful football is almost here.
Jeff Bass is making noise, boys. That's that's what I'll end it with. That's my last thing. Jeff Bass is making noise.
Yep, I wanted to talk about him. I know we have so much to cover, but we'll see. But I also know sometimes we talk about somebody, at length, and especially in preseason, like it's just different.
They're gone.
Jeffrey Bassett has been impressive as well.
Yeah, Jeffrey. Yes, better than expected. But we'll talk more about that next time for sure.
Yeah, so we got Chiefs' second preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks tomorrow, August 15th. I knew it was in one of those. I always get those. I feel like those are just 2 months. You can always get mixed up. I don't know why, but August 15th.
August and October.
Going to Seattle, play a late night game too.
Y'all better drink your coffee around 7:00 tomorrow night because
exactly, because you're on the West Coast, a late start time over on the West Coast. So
that's not getting over till midnight at least.
Yeah. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to be excited about, and we're going to talk about all of it on the next episode. We'll have a lot more in depth. We won't spend half the episode talking about Taylor Swift, probably. Although I am pretty hyped for a new album because
no promises.
I hyped it up pretty good. So, just saying. But that's everything. That's everything we've got for you today. We appreciate you all for rocking and listening with us. Be sure to check us out at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check us out over on our YouTube, The Kingdom Says. Drop a like and subscribe and leave some comments on Who was your favorite performance from the first preseason game, and who are you looking forward to in preseason game number 2 to take an eye on? So listen to us over at Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts at, and we will be back on the next episode of the Kingdom Says.